Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Well, hi again. I'm in a new studio. I think this is just a really great new studio, and it gives me an up just to be in something new. So welcome to our show. Today, there's this young lady that's going to be on the show and her dad. Avery was 5 years old when she started playing golf and 3 years old when she started playing golf, won her first tournament when she was 5. Listen to this. Today, she's 12. Avery Zweig and her dad, Ivan, travel the world now as she wins all kinds of tournaments and makes all kinds of achievements, including being the number 2 ranked player in the world for the graduating class of 2025 on the JGS, being the youngest woman at 10 years old to qualify for USGA Women's Championship, and winning 2 world championships. Now, let's take a look at what a really good golfer looks like.
I've never putted before, and you're teaching me. Go ahead. What do you do? What do you do first?
You put your right hand on the club.
No, before that, address the ball. Good. So address the ball, feet together. And then what?
Put your right hand on it and then your left hand.
No, it goes the other way. Your what hand first?
Your left hand on it.
Okay.
And then your right.
Okay, so do that now. Do that. Left hand. Take your right hand off. And then right hand. There you go. Okay, scoot your hands down a little bit. Perfect. And now what do? You got to look at your target, remember? Okay, now you're ready. Dude, good putt. Look at that. Great putt. Great putt. All right. Great putt, Avery. Do you have anything to say to the camera?
Do you have anything to say to the camera, Avery and Ivan? Welcome to the show. I can't do that well now.
Well, it was a good lag by me and my 4-year-old self. I really do appreciate the hair and the hat. Really did go well. I don't know if I could do that well now, so 4-year-old.
You're amazing. I mean, you're amazing. And, you know, I've always wondered as a parent what it would be like to have, Ivan, a prodigy of any sort. When you realized this little girl of yours had this ability, what was that like for you?
I don't use the term prodigy. A lot of people do. They kind of throw that around. She's a really good golfer, and we kind of have always taken the attitude we just want her to be a great person. Yeah. And so, if her sport is her thing, or one of her things that she's good at, that's great. But we really want her to be well-rounded as a human, as a person with everything. So,
you know what? That's why you're on the show. As I said to you, I don't have anyone on the show that isn't real and authentic and doing things right. And by the way, you've done things right, because in meeting her, she's very polite and says thank you and please.
But I fooled you.
You fooled her.
Oh, Avery, what are you practicing for now? What's coming up?
So I have the event called the USGA Women's Floorball, which is the event that I qualified last year and broke the record for. That's best ball. And that's in Jacksonville, Florida. And then
what best ball is.
Yeah, best ball is you have a partner, and every hole you take the best score. So if you both make a 4, then you take 4. If I make a 5 and my partner makes a 4, then we take the 4.
And how do you pick that? How do you pick your partner?
It's just whoever you want to play with. And it's kind of become a popular event now, so it's really fun.
you have to. There's a whole qualifying process. You go through a USGA qualifier, very nerve-wracking. So this is the second year in a row she's qualified, and as she mentioned last year, she was the youngest in the history. She and her partner were super young, and then now she has a different partner this year that's still 16. It's not like she's 25, and her partner is very, very accomplished that she's playing with this year, so they'll have a good time.
And you talked about when she went up for the qualifying. Tell us about that story when you went up to, where was it, in Indiana?
In South Dakota.
South Dakota?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
So that was for an individual event. It was USGA, but it was different. It's a qualifier for the girls junior, and I played in that last June, and June 26th. And I qualified, and I was the youngest to qualify, and that was my own. So that's a different event, but you still have to qualify. And we're thinking, okay, South Dakota, maybe there won't be a loaded field like it would be in Texas or California.
What do you mean
Florida.
loaded field?
Really good players.
Oh, okay.
And they're only, and when you sign up for the qualifier, you can't see who's in it. So we signed up, and there were, you could see how many people there are. So there were like 7 people, and then when the field closed and they showed who was in it, all 7, nobody was from South Dakota or Iowa.
There was 9.
9. Nobody was from there.
Including you.
No one.
No one.
They were from everywhere else.
Yes.
So
So everyone had the same idea. And
Yeah, we'll sneak up to South Dakota and go play, and so it wound up being a bunch of really good players that I don't know if she would have played that many good players in Texas, even though Texas would have had 40 players.
Sure.
There's probably 10 that could really win, maybe. And so here we are going to South Dakota, and everybody was within a couple of shots. It was very close.
Amazing.
So
yeah.
she did very well, though, and kept her composure. And
What composure?
I wasn't allowed to caddy, so I was out of the way, and one of our friends caddied for her, and he enjoyed that experience. So,
what do you like the most about golf?
I've always loved the competition. My family is just extremely competitive by nature. Board games are interesting. If you're
What board game? Now, you're an only child, right?
Yes.
What board games?
I mean, not anything specific, but when we do, we tried charades over Christmas. That was an experience. But I think the competition and just being out there and knowing that it's you and only you, so not having the excuse of blaming a team or having a team, I think it's just because it's you. And I've been doing it for quite a while, and I've always enjoyed it.
How old were you on that little video?
I was 4.
4 years old.
Yep.
Now, how did you even start playing golf? Why?
Well, my dad, he used to play like every day. And I actually told my little preschool class when I asked, where does your dad work? I said that he works at the golf course.
And where does he really work?
Well, when in reality, he would bring his sales clients out there, and they would have lunch, or if they did play, you would take them out there and they'd discuss business. So, but he went every day because that was work essentially. So then I thought he worked there, and then he took me out one day, and I loved it, and then started playing.
Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just crazy. Mm-hmm. Talking about you just wanted her to be a real person and have a good life. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you shared with me that I really want you to talk about is at 7 years old, starting a foundation for cancer. Who at 7 years old even thinks about that? So how did that happen, Avery?
So when I was in 3rd grade, my school janitor, got diagnosed with lung cancer, and the school did all these little fundraisers to raise money for him. And one day, my dad and I went to one of them, and there were tons of people there. And I thought, well, they must be making like tons of money for Mr. Jeff, was his name. And when in reality, they're only giving 10% of the proceeds to him. So, because some of it went to the restaurant. So then he said, well, not really. So then I said, we got to do something. So then that's how One Green campaign came about.
So tell us more about One Green campaign, Ivan. What is that?
Yeah, so it's the Win Green campaign. It's win green, like win money.
Win
it's
money on the green.
Double entendre, with
right.
the playing green on the golf course. So Well, you can tell. She's
You did
she's
it,
an expert
okay.
pitch
Go
man.
right ahead.
So I said I wanted to do that, and then we wound up partnering with this foundation called Two Seam Dream Foundation.
Two Seam Dream.
Yes, like two seam fastball.
Okay.
It's
See, you got to know golf.
inspired by
Yeah,
baseball.
yeah.
No, it's not golf.
It's not golf.
That's a baseball.
And you played baseball.
Yeah, that's right.
You played
one of my
baseball.
baseball buddies. That's
Okay,
right.
all right.
Sorry, it's a little confusing. There.
But we,
To raise money, though, you have to either do it through those GoFundMe
Yes.
campaigns, and I don't know how they actually operate from a 501c3 standpoint, or you need to be partnered with a 501c3. So he had asked us, hey, will you have Avery? Avery was on this little TV show when she was 7 with elite golfers at the time, and he said, hey, will you get her to wear my logo? And I was like, well, she'll wear it, but I mean, she's 7. What's that gonna say? Well, no, it'll be cool. And then 2 days later, we went to that event for Mr. Jeff, and she says, well, Dad, we got to do something. It kind of hit me as I was driving out of the parking lot, like, oh, well, maybe we'll partner with Rick from Two Seam Dream, and so it's worked out, and it's grown, modestly over the last 4 or 5 years, and so we've had as many as 50 kids around the country raising money for pediatric cancer, and it kind of evolved from Mr. Jeff to pediatric cancer, because the second year we had a little boy named Kason Crow who was 1.5 when he was diagnosed with neuroblastoma. And so, he was so little, he didn't have any idea. I mean, he probably barely remembers, I bet you now, and he's 5 now or 6. He probably barely remembers, going to a hospital and stuff. But I obviously, when you're 1.5, you don't know what's going on. He's having chemo, and he had surgery because he had a tumor that was actually attached to his carotid artery. So he had a benign tumor that then had the growth on it. So without too many details, so there's very complicated, and they can't remove the benign part of it. So, it's very complicated because they could have just cut the whole thing out if it wasn't attached to his artery. So, but anyway, he's doing great. And so ever since then, the pediatric cancer has kind of been the heartstring. Yeah, well, I guess it works. Yeah, a little bit like that. But yeah,
I bet.
But it's but pediatric cancer has been the cause specifically, and then since then, we've had 50 kids one year, 40 another, with probably some turnover. So we probably had 65 kids and families that have been involved in helping
in raising money.
Right, over the last few years. And
do they just call in and say, I want to help? How do you get them?
So usually it's via social media. So they follow my Instagram, Facebook. And then they see that I've started that because we're using social media as a platform. And then they say, hey, it'd be cool to join. And
that is cool.
And now we have 50 kids from around the world that are raising awareness for pediatric cancer.
Wow, what a difference. How much have you raised so far, do you know?
So we've raised, I think, close to $200,000 in in-kind donation. And an in-kind donation it's not all the time directly in the form of money. Say like there's a raffle and the prize is valued at $5,000, then that's an in-kind donation. So it's still something being donated, just not always in money.
And I believe with all my heart, when you give, you get. And you are giving and you are getting back. So you mentioned Instagram. I know you have 5,000 followers on Instagram. What is it on Facebook?
I'm not sure about
that. It's like 26,000.
26,000.
I just hit 5K on Insta, and nothing makes me happier.
Congratulations. So Avery, what do you want to do when you grow up besides continue to play what you love to play? Other than that, what do you want to study?
I'd like to be a pro golfer, but in college I'd like to get a degree in broadcast journalism and communications.
You would?
Yes.
And that's what I studied.
Yes.
It's fun.
It definitely is.
What do you want to do with it?
I'd like to work at the Golf Channel. I'm not sure exactly how, like maybe on like Golf Central or a color commentator, but something along the lines of being on camera.
Okay, so if there's anyone out there in media, did you hear that? Get her now, because if you wait, you won't be able to touch her. So you want to play the game?
Yes.
You interview me. Be careful.
I don't know if I can move this mic, but what is the most interesting audience you've ever spoken to?
Okay, and I had no idea what she was going to ask, I promise. The most interesting audience I've ever. Oh, I know exactly. So I do a lot of keynote speaking, and about 5 years ago, I got a call from the National Funeral Directors Association.
Oh gosh.
And they wanted me, because my books are around presence and professionalism in the workplace, i.e., do it right. And they wanted me to talk about presence. And I thought, what in the world do I talk about presence with funeral directors? And will they be sitting there like this? Well, I have to tell you. So I went out and talked to a few of them. And here's what I found out. They are the funniest, most jovial, easygoing people in the world. Now, when we see them, they're not. They're very calm, which they should be.
I guess it makes sense because they'll deal with subjects that are very serious, right? You don't want to be insensitive to a family, but at the same time, they have to pump it up so that it doesn't get to them, I suppose, right?
Well, Anna, it was fascinating. It was wonderful. So I have a whole different perspective. And you are already doing speaking engagements.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I've spoken to a few audiences, and I've been doing it, I don't know, I think the first time was maybe when I was 9, so about 3 years. I don't do it consistently, but we've had a few people reach out, hey, can she speak? Or if I win an award, then have to speak. So
You have to speak. So what do you say to people as a speaker? What's your message?
So the message of the campaign is I will utilize my skills to benefit those in need. And I think that kind of goes for anything you do, not just golf. Because, whether it's opening a door for somebody or devoting your time to volunteer, you can always make a difference. So I think that's a valuable lesson that people should learn.
Interesting you say that, because I always ask my guests to have things to share with the audience. So that's a really good one right there. And I'll get back to asking you some specific ones. But I want to know about outside of golf. What do you do? What is someone like you who practice? You go to school too, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
In what grade?
I'm in 6th grade.
Okay. So you're in 6th grade. What's your favorite topic?
I really like writing.
Do you?
I do, yes. Not like fictional writing, but if someone gives me a topic, then I like to put words together, use my vocabulary, stuff like that.
Your expository pieces, is that what they used to call them?
Oh, geez. So at the expository pieces, they give you a topic, and you have to write basically this long essay about the topic. And sometimes it's persuasive, other times it's just about something. They aren't the most fun to write, but they do come out pretty interesting.
I bet you're good at it.
I'm pretty much I'm a huge perfectionist when it comes to writing. So I'll come to the teacher every 5 seconds, like, this doesn't flow right. Can you help me?
You know what? That's a good lesson right there. Ask for help. People don't ask for help these days. I like that. So, okay, outside of that, what else do you like to do?
So I have 2 cats at home.
What are their names?
Francis and George. Francis is after Francis we met from The Greatest Game Ever Played, and if any of you were golfers who are watching, then you would understand that. He's an amateur who won the U.S. Open in the early 1900s, but it's a girl cat.
A girl cat.
Yeah. And then George is after George Costanza from Seinfeld. And, the name suits both of them absolutely perfectly.
They've got personality, right?
Yes.
Outside of the cats at home, do you have hobbies? What else?
Well, I hang out with my friends whenever I can. And I'm pretty busy.
I bet.
Kind of depends. But I do yoga a lot. I love yoga.
Yoga?
Yes. I know that sounds really odd.
No,
but
I think that's great. Keeps you in shape.
Yes.
Okay, why do you like it?
I like it because they have all the challenging poses. I don't do like stretching yoga. I do what's called vinyasa flow yoga, which is where you're constantly moving. Like, I could not sit in a pose for 5 minutes straight, but when you're moving, it gets a good workout. And also, you have all these different poses like you can build on.
Do you stand on your head?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
I was kidding.
I mean, not frequently, but that's something I worked for like a year, and I think I was able to do it last June. That was the first time.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
More achievements. Oh my gosh. Dad, I have to ask you, and I'll ask you in reverse. When you're with her as long as you are, I mean, every day, how many hours are you two together?
It depends. Daylight savings is always good because, and her new school, she's out of school at 11:30. So, you know, at some point I've got to work, and
You
so
do
I
have a real job too.
Yeah, so I have to. So it's good because I don't have to pick her up at 11:30. She can actually do her study hall and get a lot of her homework done. So I usually pick her up between 12:30 and 1. But one of the benefits of the school, aside from it being a shortened day, is that there's not an absence policy. So they expect you to miss school, and they're very flexible with. They help you make it up when you're at public school. You can only have so many absences. There's federal funding that's tied to it, so they're really strict about it. And the teachers, when she was younger, they were very cooperative about it, but in middle school they definitely weren't as understanding. But they get a lot of investment put in both ways from the student and the kid when they're in elementary, because they're with the same teacher all the time. And so they were all so Brentfield, Comstock, they were all so awesome.
Kudos for them.
Yeah, supporting her, because otherwise you never know if we would have had to miss some tournaments, and then who knows what opportunity she would have missed. So her new school is really, really good. Spring Creek Academy, shout out.
Yeah.
Good shout
River
out. Good
Twigs.
shout out.
Yeah.
And shout out to wife, because she's
Yeah.
supportive too.
Oh, yes.
So mom is her mom Heather at home.
Yeah.
She's the one that makes all this happen, because she's worked for Fujitsu and a couple other large companies. She's a great salesperson, and so her having kind of the steady job and base allows Avery to run around and for me to chase after her somewhat. So
What do you like the most about doing that, other than she's your daughter?
I mean, a lot of my friends say, man, you're really lucky that she's playing golf. Some of them are doing other sports or activities that maybe wouldn't be as exciting. But a lot of people think, do you play golf with her all the time? I actually stopped playing golf when she was like 6.5. We went and played one day, and she's hitting it right down the middle, like 110 yards, which is fine for her age, but it's right down the middle, and I'm hitting it 300 yards everywhere, and I'm getting so mad.
Forget about it,
and
Dad.
little Avery goes, she taps me on the leg once. She goes, "It'll be okay, Dad." She sees me, and it was so she was being so sweet and
So
innocent,
kind.
but so condescending at the same time. And I was just like, no more.
I'll be a better teacher.
I don't want her learning any of my nonsense on the golf course and my temper and everything else. So she actually does not. She does a very good job with her attitude and her disguising her emotions the best she can. She really does.
I think that's pretty obvious.
One of the most important parts of being a great golfer, actually. So.
And a leader too.
That's true.
So, okay, say something funny about your dad. He's with you all the time. Is there anything that you love, or kind of not so much?
Well, he tries to be very encouraging on the course, and he is. But he gets all of the shots on video when I'm in a tournament, that is. So we can review them later or to put on social media. Whatever.
It's her Sports Center channel.
my-
It's
Right.
her channel.
Yeah. Sports Center
That's right.
channel. But if he's so close, obviously, if his camera's like this, you hear everything he says. So whether that's a good shot or, you have the occasional grunt and the occasional curse word. And then he used to kind of like toss the phone. And then I remember specifically one time, like I missed a super short putt. And he tossed it, and then it was rolling, and then it rolled into a bush, and then and he got that all in video, and then there was a whole spectacle about that because we had to go get the phone from the bush.
You hear you just see the phone recording like branches, and you just hear, oh yeah, I think I can get it here. It was,
I know we had to actually get some footage from what you sent. It was like, well, can't use that because that one's a little.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's very real, and there's a lot of time and energy and effort put into it, and
You bet.
So, it doesn't matter what her skill level is. I was a professional athlete, a baseball player, and so I always took it very seriously. So a lot of the parents are out there like, boy, he's really intense. And it doesn't matter whether she's winning or not. I'm going to be very into it. It's a lot of invested time into this. So
Why are you laughing?
You could see him being intense.
No, I
could
can't
you?
see him being intense.
Or intimidating.
No. You know, before we go, I know we're gosh, we could talk for another hour, I'm sure. But I would like to hear from you what your lessons are at this age that you've learned just about life that you'd share with anyone else at your age or adults, just about living a good life, doing it right.
So I would say, as a salesperson, kind of, trying to give bracelets out. Don't be afraid for people to say no, because they will. And if they do, just thank them for their time, because you should appreciate them just listening to you speak. And then also, one round of golf doesn't define you, and that doesn't just apply to golf. One day, 1 week, 1 year.
One mistake.
Absolutely. And it's not what happens, it's how you react to it, because you can't go back in time, but you can change what's going to happen. I think that's one thing that I've learned like in the past year or so, because when you're out there, you only have 18 holes in that day. So if you hit a bad shot, you have to understand that everybody's going to hit bad shots most of the time. And you just have to deal with it the best way you can.
And keep trying, and don't give up.
Yeah.
Boy, I just wish you all the blessings the rest of your life. And Ivan, thank you for raising such a stellar young lady who is already making a difference in life, and obviously is going to do some wonderful things. So thank you both for being on the show today. I think people will really enjoy playing this over and over again. Listeners, thanks so much for tuning in, watching, or listening. Until next time, just remember, as I always say, keep doing it right, stay authentic, and please, would you subscribe? What do they say? Subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. Until next time, goodbye.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.